Someday the off-air
Yeah.
conversations will be the on-air
Oh, yeah.
conversations, but not yet.
Through the looking glass.
That's right. All right, let's do this thing.
You got a team, here's a word of the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Footballguys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
That is right. Week 11 waiver wire show. Fantasy playoffs looming large over you, but there is a lot of help for you this week. There's a lot of situations where you can move on, you can add, we can talk about injuries. It's all here. It is week 11 waiver wire. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom. And the injury report, which of course is our friend Dr. Gene Brammel's report, and we love him so. You can check it out at footballguys.com. Monday injury rounds is what we're doing. And Kyler Murray, hamstring strain, day-to-day, questionable in week 11. He was able to practice with limitations last week, but was not healthy enough to protect himself inside and outside the pocket. Cardinals chose to rest Murray, so the strain is likely low grade. There's no indication of late week aggravation. Was the reason he was inactive on Sunday. He has a good chance to return this week. I wonder if his dad got Eno Benjamin cut. Anyway, that is the injury rounds report, Bloom. I didn't even get a smile from that. A little bit of tea there.
It's sad. No, because it's sad. It's sad that Eno Benjamin got cut.
Yeah, it's sad that Eno Benjamin got cut, and it's sad that Kyler Murray's dad thinks he's the GM. Anyway, let's move on to the quarterback positions, Bloom. This is your upgrades, downgrades, waiver wire report. Again, we got a cluster. So let's just start at the top. 3 of them: Daniel Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jared Goff. Let's go.
Yeah, and again, wide net and so on. You all know that spiel. So I'm not saying these quarterbacks are available on your waiver wire. In certain shallow leagues, public leagues, they might be. But this gives us a chance to talk about quarterback as a position, as a fantasy entity. And again, this year, there were 3 great answers at quarterback: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson is working out okay. Joe Burrow is working out pretty well. We'll see when Jamar Chase is going to be back. Tua has been a hit. And then even, and of course, Justin Fields, Geno Smith. But then there's this drop-off where there's a few teams in every 12-team league that haven't found an answer at quarterback yet. And again, I want to emphasize playing defense on the waiver wire. We talk about this every year more as the season goes on. And I put them in the order of Daniel Jones because the running ability in this offense can still get better. And Jimmy Garoppolo, although we see now San Francisco with Elijah Mitchell back showing the true face that they want to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball 20, 25 times a game, even though he's surrounded by great passing game weapons. And then Jared Goff, who is inadequate. And that's the thing, too. Adequate. Even 18 points. It used to be sees 20 points off the waiver wire. Now 17, 18. You're happy with that. That's the level you're getting from an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady, these kind of quarterbacks. So by depriving, and again, I'm going to emphasize, even if you're set at quarterback, by depriving somebody of one of these options this week, Tom Brady's on bye, Geno Smith's on bye, Tua's on bye. Look at your opponent's roster. Do they have one of those quarterbacks? Who's their backup? Maybe you can hem them in to having to start somebody like, John Wolford or something this week. Maybe you might make them have to start Ryan Tannehill. That can be the difference in your matchup.
Russell Wilson.
Can you believe that we've gotten there? That's a separate topic. But yeah, so you're playing chess here. Get into this. Have fun with fantasy football where you can use that and then see as we get deeper in, even if maybe the best quarterback on the waiver wire is Matt Ryan or Marcus Mariota, you might still want to play defense there because, again, you can hem your opponent in, not to mention also injuries, more uncertainty to come. So options that look like good options might disappear or collapse. So it's time to really think about whatever waiver wire dollars you have left. Use them to help you have a better chance of winning. That can just be looking at simply this week.
Just this week, and move on and move forth to the rest of the quarterbacks. Oh boy, the 1%ers, because you mentioned Mariota and Matt Ryan. If you got more to say, then say it by all means. Davis Mills, Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Baker Mayfield, Colt McCoy, Jameis Winston, John Wolford, Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
Did I miss anybody?
Yeah, and Cecil.
Where's Sam Darnold?
Right. Cecil running out of breath. It shows you that. I mean, if that sounds fun, that's super flex 2 quarterback leagues. You haven't tried it yet.
And
Every starting
Cecil in
quarterback.
shape, running out of breath. Not old chubby Cecil where I'd get all wheezy. We do like a 30-minute show, and then I'd be like, "Oh, was it good for you too?" There you go.
Right. So that's super flex 2 quarterback leagues. You have to be on top of everything. Real quick, Matt Ryan's back. Sanity's back. Jeff Saturday. See, there's a whole show we could do about who's happy and who's not that Jeff Saturday won. You know, what does that mean for the NFL's order and how things go? And you have Mariota, who's been up and down, but against Chicago, you like the chances. The Chicago game scripts lately have just been bonkers for fantasy. You want to be in on these Chicago games, both because of the defense and the offense, getting them into shootouts. Indianapolis has Philadelphia, which I would have said bad matchup, but it isn't like Taylor Heineke did a lot last night. What a game, by the way, for Washington.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ron Rivera. You know, Ron Rivera is one of those. Why does Ron Rivera have to be in an organization owned by Dan Snyder? Because Ron Rivera is one of those people you want to root for in the NFL. Other 1%ers, and again, it's rational to have carried one quarterback and just waited for the bye. So you might be looking at starting Davis Mills. So you got Davis Mills and Taylor Heineke on both sides of this game. Mills might be the better play. Heineke, you're going to ask to play mistake-free football as Washington is suddenly a playoff contender. Kenny Pickett, Kenny can run. He's plucky. Steelers almost want it to be more like the Jets, right? Like, let's just have the quarterback throw 25 passes, safer passes, and running game. And then, use your competitiveness as a runner. So that actually helps Pickett's fantasy upside, to be honest, this week against Cincinnati. Ryan Tannehill with the hookup to Nick Westbrook-Yakina. Going up against Green Bay on Thursday night. What was that stuff about LaFleur not going home? Again, Jeff Saturday. Another night, another topic.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson. And what you like about Zach Wilson here is the Jets seem to be a well-coached team, a well-prepared team, and they probably would use the bye to get things more in alignment and make things work even better. And it's modest, but if Zach Wilson can add 2, 3, 4, occasionally a rushing touchdown, points on the ground, and just not make a lot of mistakes, at least get around like 200 passing yards, he can be a viable fantasy quarterback for us. So he has some value in those deep leagues. I just want to highlight Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. I don't know who's going to, like, say week 14, 15, whatever. I think it's Zappi.
When is that power struggle won?
Yeah.
It's got to be won by that time, right?
You would think that Zappi outplaying Mac Jones coming out of the bye now, we're going to really get some clarity on where that's going to go. Baker Mayfield, Colt McCoy, we'll see. He has a knee injury. Kyler Murray has that hamstring. Jameis Winston, I think he's going to start. Just when we hear on Monday that they haven't made a decision yet, then they're going to make a change, probably. Not that it matters that much unless you have Chris Olave. We'll see about Matthew Stafford. Will the Lions actually have a later pick than the Rams? Are the Lions going to have 2 top 10 picks because of the Rams being in the top 10 seats?
Possibly.
Headed that way.
I love what Lester says. Morning, everyone. Things are going terrible.
Yeah.
Is that Bukowski in his avatar?
That is absolutely Bukowski.
This world is awful. Why won't it love me? Right? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah. That's how they characterize it, and that's where Bukowski could go. Let's do a show on Bukowski. It's it's the honesty. What matters most. Here's a Bukowski quote for you. What matters most is how you walk through the fire.
Okay, there you go. Hey, football fans. That's right. That is a wrap for quarterbacks. So we bring in Dr. Gene Bramall so we can vote for him, because we always vote for Dr. Gene Bramall. And here we go in terms of injury report. And this is the Monday injury rounds. It's available at footballguys.com. We are watching the Leonard Fournette hip contusion. He's day-to-day. Now they got a bye in week 11. Todd Bowles told reporters Fournette suffered a hip pointer and did not return. He'll get 2 weeks to recover with this bye. And it looked like Bloom, we'll talk about Rachaad White, even though they're on bye, but it looked like, well, they were using a committee. And it was White who was coming through. It was White who was being productive. So, again, watch the injury report. More injured running backs available. And it's all Dr. Gene Bramall's Monday injury rounds available at footballguys.com. So let's get into the running back position. And there is Rachaad White. I know they're on bye. But, hey, finally, it's one of those you talk about it enough. And when it actually happens, that's great. And then Elijah Mitchell When
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan says we're going to use Christian McCaffrey less so we can use Mitchell more, that is an alert to everyone to run to the waiver wire and get him if you can.
Yeah, if hopefully you got out ahead of it. I know we talked about him last week as just an injury upside play because of the quality of the player, because of the quality of his production in the past, and Christian McCaffrey's injury history. Two big names at the top here. 20 to 40%. I don't know that I would empty everything I have. It isn't like Leonard Fournette's going to go away. He might just flip the balance there. But these are obviously priority pickups. Maybe wide receiver might be a slightly higher priority. A few players emerging there. We'll talk about that. Tampa situation goes by. It sounds like Fournette's going to be okay. Well, there's a question in the chat room, Cecil. I think this is a great way to attack the Rachaad White waiver wire take. Okay. He said, should I drop Leonard Fournette for Rachaad White? So if that's it, like you can have one or the other. Who do you want to have going forward?
I want to have the explosive guy.
Well,
I want to have Rachaad White.
Yeah, you want to have the guy with the momentum going.
No matter where the game script goes, Rachaad White can be productive.
Yeah, and he's the healthy one. Let's not forget that. He's the one who didn't come out of week 10 hurt.
Right.
So I think that puts now, where's the hesitation of really leaning in, emptying your wallet for White? And I guess maybe in a shallow enough league, you might do that. It's just the Tampa backfield has not been super productive. Maybe the offense will continue to get better coming out of the bye. And then on the other hand, you have Mitchell. And I think if Shanahan stays true to this blueprint that he showed us, then Mitchell probably has about the same value going into a week. We'll see how the goal line carries shake out. But Mitchell also has a lot of upside in his current role. And then there's also the injury upside for both of these guys, although Fournette's the one that's hurt. So I think that, Cease, for me, it just comes down to I like San Francisco's backfield and running game more than Tampa's at this point, and that's why I would favor them. But, these are the two guys, and all these things will continue to be in motion. That's why we'll have our segment coming up where we're going to talk about backup running backs, because a few of those guys are going to be in this kind of conversation before the year's over.
Before the year is over. And you also have a team in San Francisco that's going to lean on their ground game. You have a team in Tampa that's like leaning on Tommy because he's making them lean on him. Wait till Tommy's in San Francisco next year. Anyway, let's talk about Isaiah Pacheco, 10 to 20%. They actually used him, Bloom.
Yeah.
Could you please do that some more? Can you do what you did earlier, please? And then a cluster. Gus Edwards, Dontrell Hilliard, 5 to 10%. Yeah. Alexander Madison, 5 to 10%. Jerick McKinnon, 5 to 10%. Samaje Perine, 5 to 10%. And yes, even Jalen Warren, especially if it's as a receiver, I guess. Okay. Sure. 5 to 10%.
And we can add Brian Robinson from last night to the 10 to 20% tier.
Yes.
And again, these numbers aren't specific. It's just give you idea of priorities. Why isn't Isaiah Pacheco higher? Well, just like we were talking about with Tampa, you just know this offense is going to go through Patrick Mahomes. So it's, yes, this was an ideal game script. They controlled the game. Pacheco, they stuck with him through a fumble. That's very comforting. Barely used Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But still, Pacheco, I mean, who would you rather start any given week, Pacheco or Mitchell? I mean, I guess Pacheco has a higher ceiling, but also he has a floor where Kansas City just might not run the ball that much. So we'll see. Brian Robinson, it was great to see 26 for 86. I mean, he's a pedestrian runner, but if they're a winning team and he gets those goal line carries, you have something there, although he's basically at his ceiling already, which is like a flex play, matchup flex play this week. Houston, well, it's one of those matchups. Going on to the next group, I just have Gus Edwards broken out. Is he going to be back this week? Maybe, maybe not. J.K. Dobbins should be back soon. I still think it's an unknown for both of these guys. I mean, maybe we should be talking about Kenyon Drake, right? But I think Edwards is the guy. What Edwards gives you is the guy that you know is the first option at the goal line. And even when J.K. Dobbins is back, I think Edwards is the first option at the goal line. So I think his value just is going to be a little more durable as long as he's durable. The backup running backs, and again, I'll hit on this, the criteria, the quality of the player, the quality of the running game and the offense. Is there a clear backup? Is this running back going to be in committee or a clear 3-down backup? And then what's the likelihood that we're going to get to see them maybe get to start? So going through the priority group, Dontrell Hilliard, we've been talking about this. He's been explosive. Derrick Henry, get a lot of work. Alexander Madison, that's an annual name on this list. We'll see. I'll be curious to see how free agency receives him. Be interesting.
I bet it'll be cold.
Well, it's a running back, right?
Yeah.
Cold war. It's a cold world to be running back.
The streets are cold.
Yeah. Samaje Perine, a 3-down backup and a pretty good offense there. Jalen Warren, now he's a desperation play. We did not see him overtake Najee Harris. Najee Harris got going. The Steelers running game got going. So you're not going to see that change or flip anytime, even though there was a lot of foreshadowing that it might. But because the Steelers are committed to the run and it's starting to work, because Warren is showing that he can hang on an NFL field, then he's in this group. And then just as a contrast, not an injury upside backup, Jerick McKinnon's also in this tier because he's more like if you need to roll the dice and get 8 to 12 points, he seems like being the passing game back, since this is an offense that's going to lean more on its passing game. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it looks like, at least as of this moment, they moved on from the idea that they're going to get a lot out of him. Then you have Jerick McKinnon. I lost to Dr. Gene this week because I benched Jerick McKinnon for Kenneth Gainwell. So maybe that's why I put McKinnon in here.
Yeah, maybe. It's all Freudian, right? Everything's on the couch. By the way, just because Bloom. But the Crankin asked, what do we do with the Eno? And I know we'd probably save this. And I just woke up. Like literally just woke up. So please tell me if he's been picked up. But I'm actually holding on to a player that doesn't even have a team. Like if you, depending on the size of your bench, obviously. Yeah. But in the leagues that I play in, the benches are fairly sizable. I like big benches, and I cannot lie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, holding on to Eno Benjamin, waiting for that other team to come through and get him, whoever it is. I don't think the waiver process has exhausted itself yet, so we might hear if he's been rewarded or awarded to someone, or he might just sign as a free agent. But that talent and the stuff we've seen from Eno, and I kind of teased it about the Kyler thing just because, well, I know too much behind the scenes there, but like, okay, if my bench is deep enough, Eno Benjamin has been shockingly released, I would still hold on just in case he lands in a good spot, and well, here's our Eno Benjamin segment.
Yeah, Eno Benjamin and Kyron Williams a 1%er, by the way, like about a quarter of the snaps. The Rams are fancy wasteland, but just a formality. And I think holding on to Eno, I wouldn't hold on to Eno over some of the established upside backups that we just went over, right? I wouldn't hold on to Eno over Dontrell Hilliard or Samaje Perine. But what Eno does offer is if there's an injury in a backfield or otherwise going to an organization where they think more of him than they thought of him, especially if he gets claimed. I don't know how much he's owed for this. He's like $400,000 or something like that. But at least it shows an organization saying, we want to bring you in. He has another year left on his rookie deal. We want to bring you in and make you part of what we're doing. This isn't just a Band-Aid or a warm body off the street so we have somebody to play special teams. So we'll watch for that. I think definitely bears watching. And Cecil, again, you brought up D. Brown, Syracuse. This is the time of year that running backs that even now you can look at a roster and say Raheem Blackshear is not going to matter this year. Trey Sermon's not going to matter this year. Ronald Jones is not going to matter this year.
Marlon Mack.
Right, Marlon Mack, exactly. At this moment on November 15th, you might say, there's no way those running backs are going to matter. Every year, at least one running back like that matters in the fantasy playoffs. Benjamin could be that guy.
Yep, he could be that guy, to be sure. It is the Audible. It's week 11. It is Waiver Wire, and it is time to bring in our friend Dr. Gene Bramall once again, because we have to go to the wide receiver position as we're cruising right along to the Waiver Wire show. So Dr. Gene Bramall's full injury report is available at footballguys.com. It's the Monday injury rounds with Dr. Gene Bramall, available at footballguys.com. And we are watching Cooper Kupp. Right ankle injury week to week out for week 11. And the replay on Kupp's injury didn't show you exactly what it was, but the most likely injury lies along the spectrum of a high ankle sprain from a mid-grade ligament injury to a higher grade injury with a fibular fracture. See, when I get to read Dr. Gene Bramall, Bloom, I sound smart. Like
we all do, yeah.
Fibular fracture. It's very likely a multiple week injury. Whether his initial timetable will be set at 2 to 4 weeks or 4 to 6 plus weeks will depend on the structures involved. The Rams will know more after an MRI on Monday. So we're waiting for more information there with Cooper Kupp. You are waiting with bated breath for the wide receivers, and two of them to talk about, Kadarius Toney and Christian Watson, making Aaron Rodgers happy, which is difficult to do.
Yeah, right. That was hey, whatever happens with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, that game, and wasn't it perfect fall, the late game slot, even though it's in Green Bay, it's getting dark, right? It basically turns into a night game. And at least for that afternoon, and in Dallas and Mike McCarthy, that's a classic game, Cease. You'll never have all that stuff line up again. And it happened. And it happened because of Christian Watson. It happened because, and we can say, oh, the Packers weren't going to be willing to give up a second round pick for Chase Claypool, but they gave up 2 for Christian Watson. What's going on here? Well, maybe there was something to it. Maybe if Christian Watson had been able to stay healthy beginning of the year, maybe we'd have a different story. Maybe we still have a different story. There's enough of this NFL season left that just like those running backs, there's a team, there's a team that's going to make the playoffs that nobody has making the playoffs right now. Maybe it's Green Bay. Maybe Christian Watson's a big part of that story. And it's fun to see. And I guess it just goes back to the scouting report on him, right? Cease. If a receiver coming from that low level of college football gets drafted that highly, many expect him to go in the first. It's the physical ability. It's elite.
Right.
It's elite physical ability, right?
Right.
Christian Watson's physical ability in a SEC wide receiver is a top 10 pick. And another rookie wide receiver that has been working out. And Kadarius Toney, we'll see. I don't remember what his snap share was, like 40% or something like that. And that's with McCole Hardman out, and that's with Juju Smith-Schuster getting hurt in that game. But Kadarius Toney is the kind of talent that has his own gravitational pull. And you would think that if he keeps doing what he was doing, what was Kadarius Toney doing? Well, he was adding ridiculous amount of value to his touches, eluding 3 tacklers, leaping up and making a catch at the sideline that is, reminiscent of the kind of stuff we see Diggs and Beckham do. And so he gets his number called not that many times, but when he does get his number called, things happen. Andy Reid's not dense. I don't know what the plan is, but Kadarius Toney can make this his own plan. And isn't it perfect, Cease, that we should have seen this coming, that the Chiefs would be the team in on him and that he would start to flourish with Patrick Mahomes? It's almost unfair. And that's the kind of, so both Watson and Toney have a chance to really be that league winner with the potential to revive Green Bay's offense, with the potential to add another layer of explosiveness to the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs. It's all starting to come together. I'm getting excited, Cease.
Yeah, it's coming together for Kansas City for sure, because they're just a machine. That's what they are. And Bloom, here's what they did that Green Bay didn't do. They didn't put all their eggs in one basket. Because that's exactly what the Packers did. And then when guys get hurt or they're just not good enough, they're like, oh, what do we do? And Rodgers is pissed. Sorry, Joe. And Kansas City's like, we don't really need another weapon, but let's go get another weapon just in case. And well, just in case happens. And Kadarius Toney, he can basically write his own check, right? He can write his own check. And that's fantastic. If you're Kadarius Toney, you're a fantasy GM that has him. Paris Campbell, it's good to see his talent come through because he's always had that speed and he's always been feisty going after the ball. So 10 to 20% for him. Nico Collins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and they're both, they're both Michigan guys, right, Bloom, on top of my head? And then 10 to 20% for both of those guys who kind of are the same player on different teams. But let's talk about them.
Yeah. Lots of fun stories here. It's one of the things I like about the waiver wire. We're here to give you advice about the waiver wire, but really, this is just also a story every week of what's changing in the NFL. What's changing? What's changing back Indianapolis, right? And see, when we look back over this fantasy football season, anybody who, when everything went bonkers, cuckoo in Indy, Sam Ehlinger starting, Frank Reich is fired, and they said, okay. And let's take a moment and reflect. Like, when there's blood in the streets, bye, right? So it's when things really seem like they can't get worse. Think about the language there. You're saying it can't get worse, right? Can it possibly get worse than firing Frank Reich and making the team start Sam Ehlinger? It can't. So get in and buy, because it is that despair, that feeling of it's just going to be like this forever. Because Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell, these players now can have a difference. They were cheap, so cheap compared to what they're worth right now. Paris Campbell, not a total priority, although he looked great on his 35-yard catch and run touchdown. Obviously, Matt Ryan breathes a lot of life back into this passing game. We're also seeing Campbell, and we've heard this from inside the organization, that Campbell is hitting his stride now, and he's had his moments. Just needed to stay healthy. So he's an exciting addition. There's a lot of exciting additions at wide receiver this week. Nico Collins, and I love that you group Nico Collins and Donovan Peoples-Jones together, because the common idea here is athletically, pedigree-wise, these guys should have been drafted a lot higher, and they went to Michigan. So we're not talking about North Dakota State like Christian Watson, right?
Right.
But the quarterback play. How much does quarterback play in college skew our ability to evaluate? And good teams, good scouts, maybe, Houston and Cleveland swoop in and get these guys. In case of Peoples-Jones, remember, you're going to get that bump with Deshaun Watson in 2 weeks. Nico Collins looks like he got 10 targets last week. He looked like a receiver on his touchdown that will be a soon number one receiver for his team. Plus, remember, Brandon Cook's fading. You got Julio Jones and Trent Sherfield. Julio's healthy. Now he's holding him through a bye. So that's why there's not a high priority here. But if he's playing 30 to 40 snaps a game, and remember, there's injury upside there with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and maybe that's all coming together. Think about playing Tampa in the playoffs with a healthy Julio, Godwin, and Evans. That's tough to prepare for. Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Nick Westbrook-Akina. It's our hyphenated section, Cease.
Right.
And these are 1 week plays with Westbrook-Akina, lightning in a bottle. Sometimes we can catch it again. Valdez-Scantling, especially with Juju Smith-Schuster's out. It was great to see him. You can see by the way he caught his touchdown last week, Cease. Like, he surrounded the ball. Like, I'm not going to let this one go.
This is mine.
This one, I'm going to sit down in the end zone and show that, yes, we can finish these plays. So he's part of that, again, that fun Kansas City story. This is definitely a season, Cease, that already we've seen so much change. And again, if you pause, there's a lot more to come.
There is a lot more to come. And Bloom, I can't believe I would do this. And in the old days, I would have just edited this. But Diego brings it up, dude. So the Benjamin thing happens, and the first thing I think of is I can't wait to get on the Waiver Wire show and talk to Bloom about my guy, Keontae Ingram. And then the Waiver Wire show comes around. I'm barely awake. I'm drinking Starbucks. I'm answering questions about the Knicks, which I love. Yes, Knicks fan. And I totally redeem yourself. No, I totally forgot to talk about Keontae Ingram, who you've heard on this show from the Shrine game last year, because, well, when I saw him down in Vegas, his legs, and we've said it before for other players, but just being field level and being like next to him, his legs attacked the ground like jackhammers, just punished the ground. Whatever he did, underrated receiver too. So I remember being in Vegas, and I texted 2 people. I texted Chad Ryder from NFL Network, and he was actually watching the practices at home in Wisconsin. And then I texted Matt Waldman, and Matt just texted me back. He's like, LOL, Ingram's one of my favorite sleepers. So yeah, we got to talk about Keontae, because James Conner's there, and we all love James Conner, but the injury seal's already broken. So Keontae, Keontae, with a nice Chianti.
Fava beans. So yeah, and Ingram would be in that 5 to 10% tier of the upside injury backups. And like you said, James Conner always on the most likely starter to get hurt list. So absolutely that applies for Keontae Ingram. And we saw him earlier in the year, not a most efficient runner, looked great on a reception, did score a touchdown. And Arizona's going to get Marquise Brown back. They have a bye coming up in week 14 or week 13. They have a bye coming up. So they're going to get Marquise Brown back probably after their bye, week 13, week 14, he'll be back. So this offense could be better, even though we'll have Benjamin.
Yeah. And Diego talks about Tim Hightowers. See,
yeah,
that's a little more current than my D Brown reference, which nobody will get. But I lost a fantasy championship because of D Brown, running back Syracuse. And you know what stings the most? I told my opponent to pick him up.
Well, that was that before you were fantasy.
No, well, I was on the air, and like, oh boy, I'm airing all the laundry. Killer called in, and he was like, hey, who should I start? And I was like, okay, because I don't want to give bad advice, but I'm also talking to my opponent. So he put me in a pickle, put me in a corner.
That's you chose wisely. It's about honor. It's about integrity.
That's right. It's about like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's about tight ends. Are we done with
Mhm.
wide receivers? Right? We're done with
That's
wide receivers?
correct.
Okay. We're done with wide receivers. So that means it is tight end time. And that means we got to go to Dr. Gene Bramall. I also have to type in the timestamps as I'm doing this so I don't forget. But anyway, we love you guys. We appreciate everyone out there as well. Tight ends, Dr. Gene Bramall. Let's get to it. The injury report Monday, injury rounds. This is all of us staring at Dr. Gene. And let's see what he's got. Zach Ertz, season-ending injury. There you go. Adam Schefter tweeted the Cardinals ACL, or Ertz's ACL was intact. Unfortunately, it's season-ending, and they'll have to get surgery, and they'll have to go to Trey McBride. So there you go, Cardinals. There's some more Cardinals talk. There was our segue, Bloom. I could have just used that. With Trey McBride, he's just a 1%er. But let's get to the tight ends now. And if you want more injury reports, it's the Monday injury rounds, Dr. Gene Bramall, and it's available at footballguys.com. But let's get to those tight ends, your upgrades, downgrades, waiver wire report. And Cole Kmet, if he's still out there, if you don't believe, you better start believing. And this is a Justin Fields take as much as it is a Cole Kmet take.
It is. It's the Chicago Bears, and it's great to want to catch the fever there as part of that Bears offense. And Atlanta this week indoors, that should be another fun game to have Bears in your lineup. Now, I have Kmet as a lower priority than White and Mitchell, as a lower priority than Watson, as a lower priority than Tony. Even if we get into some of these guys like Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco, Nico Collins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Paris Campbell, depending on your needs, you don't need a tight end. I might not go that strong to the hole for Cole Kmet. And I get it. He scored each of the last 2 weeks, and it's a guy that Fields is going to look to in the red zone. Last week, there was a play where the Lions just forgot about him. And this is why you pay attention to matchup, right? There's a few defensive matchups that you say break ties in favor of players going against these defenses because they'll have breakdowns. So I don't know if that's going to happen again. But Justin Fields can make defenses break down. So maybe it's a Justin Fields take, like you said, Cease, not a Lions defense take. So here we are. Cole Kmet. It's that bad at tight end that he's a top 8 option, top 6. I mean, it's a reasonable question to say Cole Kmet or Kyle Pitts now. It's a in fact, I think the answer is Cole Kmet. And that shows you his value. It shows you how rough tight end has been. It shows you why we've been paying close attention this segment every week.
Yeah, this segment every week, it seems like you don't get a lot. And then this week, you got a little more. So Tyler Higbee, 7 to 15%. Hayden Hurst, 5 to 10%. Foster Moreau is a 5 to 10%er as well.
Yeah, Higbee. What's bad for the Rams is good for Higbee. Right. The struggle target. Whoa, Cooper Kupp gone. Struggle. I don't know how long Cooper Kupp's going to be out. And we can maybe Higbee goes back against New Orleans this week, goes back to being nothing like he was the last few weeks. But since it just seems quite a coincidence that Kupp would go down, the offense would struggle. Also with the backup quarterback in, and Higbee is back in the box score, getting you some cheap PPR points. Hurst coming back off of a bye. We'll see when Jamar Chase is going to be back. I don't know if that's good or bad for Hurst, to be honest. But Hurst, because it's a real year tight end, like every other year seemingly, is round tight end 12 if he was dropped. And again, tight end like quarterback, we talked about this, playing defense on your bench with waiver wire pickups. If it's Hurst, then a big drop for the waiver wire. Injuries happen, especially at tight end. Bye weeks happen, right? Maybe it isn't this week you're playing for, but you look at your opponent's roster and they have a bye coming up with their tight end. So there are ways to do this. Don't let Hayden Hurst just go for one unit. Or Foster Moreau. 3 more weeks of Foster Moreau starting at least. We're really going to see Darren Waller. Is Darren Waller going to come back to play for a team that's going nowhere this year? I don't know. Foster Moreau could have caught 2 touchdowns, had his hands on the game-winning touchdown. A good defensive play, but when you get your hands on it, Terry McLaurin, Darius Slade was practically holding one of his arms. He caught that ball, So isn't that the extra badge of honor in the NFL? And wide receivers know. Like, you were interfering with me. They didn't call it. I don't care. And I know that you grabbed my arm and I still got it. That's Terry McLaurin. That's how much that play left an impression on me, Cease. As I'm thinking about Foster Moreau not holding on to that ball, but still, he's a good 5 to 8 point floor. And then you see potentially getting worked in. Remember, with Hunter Renfrow out, he can do some more. It sounds like Mark Andrews is going to play, so I got to mention Isaiah Likely. If Andrews is even a game time decision, I might consider Likely against Carolina and Trey McBride a 1%er because, was it that they finally figured out how to use the tight end, or was it because they traded for and paid Zach Ertz? They were going to use him, but tight end, especially when Marquise Brown is back. So you're looking at a window, I think, with McBride of maybe a week or two before Brown is back. And then I think McBride goes back to the background, but we're having more rookie tight ends every week hit. Maybe McBride's next.
Yeah, rookie tight ends that you can trust. Now, McBride's Chris Cooley if he hits, because there's been a lot of and he was the first tight end off the board, and he was my number one tight end, Bloom. But like, I'm not gonna go run away with like, oh my God, look at this amazing upside. Like, no, he's Chris Cooley. He's an H-back, like basically, but that can be a weapon. So we'll see if it's a weapon that Arizona uses. What a day, Bloom. What a day. For sure. As we continue on and we roll through, I have to share a story from the chat room from Odds Bonkin. It says his toddlers and kids were streaming in the car endlessly this weekend, and he thought about us. And he screamed it to the heavens, this next little thing we're going to do together. And he says, "This, my wife thought I was insane." And that's the thing. Like, it's community here. Community is all about love, taking care of each other, right? It's like family, Bloom. We're all family here in the Audible. So sometimes, we just need to help each other. And sometimes that scream therapy for your fantasy team, well, it works, right? Because you need to do it, and you need to, I'm going to go do it. Like you just have to let it out. So as we get to this portion of the show, I just want to let everyone know that we're here for you. You're here for us. You do we do what you do that for us. Did I make sense? I hope I did. But either way, I know, and as I wear my Knicks gear, I think this is the only reason why Chuck D follows me on Twitter. Because I was like, wow, Chuck D follows me on Twitter. It must be because I like all of his Knicks tweets. But either way, Chuck D's a prophet you want to listen to. So as we get there, and I've already said his name, so you know what's coming up, everybody. It's cathartic. So let it out. Scream it to the heavens. Most importantly, Bloom, if you ever do this, move your microphone. Cue the Chuck D! Bloom, week 11, shut him down.
Sorry. That's great. That's good. I'm just glad that Chuck D's a prophet. I'm just glad that we have a segment that continues to preserve Public Enemy for the children. Wu-Tang for the children. No, Public Enemy. That's for the children. Truly, the message that some of these players need to hear is that's it. There's no more room for you. Sam Ellinger, PJ Walker, and your 2 quarterback superflex leagues. In a regular league, if you haven't dropped Matthew Stafford already with Cooper Kupp hurt, Andy Dalton, and maybe in 2 quarterback superflex you're going to wait around to see, but not in regular leagues if you had to count on him. I'm okay. Cease, I think we're queuing the Chuck D on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. In the sabotage drop way, do it before waivers run, so somebody spends at least a few units on him. Right. He may hit. I just think it's so unpredictable week to week that you just don't even want to think about it, and that's sad. The story of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm not sure. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not sure what happened there. I think that unfortunately he's just a guy in the NFL, and maybe it was Joe Burrow that made him look good. Khalil Herbert, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is going to get a bump from Deshaun Watson, but he didn't. What could be better for Kareem Hunt than a 39-17 loss for Cleveland, right? Like, he should be on the field in pass mode. He did nothing. He had 6 carries, 1 catch, nothing. He did nothing. So if it's Kareem Hunt or Rachaad White or Elijah Mitchell or Kareem Hunt or Watson, even maybe Kareem Hunt or Nico Collins or Paris Campbell, if I'm fine at running back, but I need help at wide receiver, I'm not attached to Kareem Hunt. I'm not attached to Khalil Herbert just because he's hurt. And he's still a roll of the dice. Yes, if David Montgomery were to go down, but we could say that about all those 5 to 10% guys too. There's a lot of running backs you say if the running back and their other running back goes down. So I'm not attached to these guys. They're not true shut them downs. DJ Moore, similar take. I'm not. Baker Mayfield's back, the destroyer of fantasy value. Jerry Jeudy, Cease. Jerry Jeudy. I mean, he was coming on,
right?
But so I'm thinking again. Obviously, if it's Christian Watson or Kadarius Toney, probably White. Again, there's that line. You want to shed any more light for folks out there that are wondering what to do with Jeudy this week?
Yeah, it seems like he might miss a week or 2, but be back. And he was trending in the right direction, but it's also trending on a team that can't score 18 points a game, because if they could, they'd be 8-1.
Yeah, that stat got picked up and went viral. See, so when did we first mention that stat? Like a month ago?
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see that people are seeing that that's the story of their season. Now, someone asking about the Chuck D for Naeem Hines, probably.
K1.
I'm not the right person to ask. It's all pain. It's all just pain, Cease. And Zach Ertz, that's more the Viking funeral type. We appreciate your service, Zach Ertz. Robert Tunyon, not going to happen for him. And it's as we get later in the season, when it comes time to shut him down, when it comes time to cue the Chuck D, I think we can have more clarity and knowing whether this player is really going to help us, have any chance to help us. So these decisions shouldn't be so agonizing, even though sometimes it does cause pain.
It does cause pain, and even K1 apologized.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to play I'm playing the part. I'm playing the part. Really, always behind this is a great joy, right? See, I saw somebody. I want to see who it is because I want to take a moment out to say this. Who was it that was the first person in the chat room? Dude, there's a lot of you guys are awesome. I can't even. I'm gonna scroll forever. It's gonna take me another minute. Scott Chaney.
Slow down your internet.
Right. So there you go. Scott Chaney said, "Yay, made the live show," and that moves me, Cease. It moves me because us doing something that we like to do, that even if we weren't broadcasting this to anybody, if we just got up in the morning and hung out and talked about like what was going on in the NFL for a little while, we would feel better. It would be good. It'd be a spiritual vitamin for us. And that we do this creates something that people are also excited to be part of. It is a joy. It is spirit lifting each and every day. And even though we work hard, Cease, at the same time, our presence in each other's lives and everybody else as part of our community, that goes away when football season is over. And it is something that is irreplaceable. I mean, there's not something else like it. What we get to do, being part of this community, being part of the energy that everybody brings, seeing how everybody else exchanges that with each other. So yeah, it's sad, it's agonizing. I know one of my things, Zare, who's another great member of our community, he's talking about how I said, yeah, you're starting to doubt yourself, your ability to see what's coming. And that's, as the fantasy football player, we're up on the stage, we're playing that part, but that we get to do this always is a joy. And maybe when we drop Naeem Hines, that would actually ignite him. Isn't that what we really want? Is for Naeem Hines to be a good player and a good offense?
Drop, then to pick. It's like the superstitious drop, right?
Right.
Like I'm going to drop you.
The bloom. You're trying to reverse
you.
bloom. You're reverse blooming them, basically.
Yes. There's so many ways I could go with that. And I'm just thinking, message from Joe, message from Joe, message from Joe. I tried the reverse bloom one time. I liked it. Anyway,
right.
Get a better view that way. It is time for Hold On. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm truly sorry. I can't help myself. It's
only weird if you make it weird.
It's only available. Reverse bloom. No, I'm sorry, Joe Plus. Let's talk about Hold On, please, so I can get my mind out of the gutter.
Impossible. Holding on this week. And again, this list gets shorter, honestly, because of uncertainty is not something we like to have on our bench. But players we hold on, come on, Cordero Patterson. Yeah, no. I don't know. Cordero Patterson could end up being a curse to have on your roster. You might look back and say he was the sabotage drop of the week if this is how it goes for Atlanta. But nah, I'm going to hold on to him. I'm going to hold on to Allen Lazard. Because number one, Aaron Rodgers has his mojo back. He's more confident. Number two, defenses might give that extra help over the top for Watson or otherwise be also mystified by Watson. And Lazard's matchups could get better. Remember, Lazard won't have to carry the load of being the whole wide receiver passing game for this team. And that could actually be good for him if Aaron Rodgers gets his mojo back, how Aaron got his groove back. Was it this time MDMA? I don't know. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Are you listening out there? So there you go. You guys in the chat room, you're one of us.
Yeah.
You're one of us. That's for sure. All right. That is a wrap for today's program. We certainly appreciate each and every one of you out there for participating and for joining us here on our journey help us grow our YouTube channel and do all those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we certainly appreciate you. We love talking about football. We dig the fact that so many of you enjoy it. He is Sigmund Bloom. I am Cecil Lammey. We are the Audible, and that includes all of us. So for everyone out there, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and please stay frosty.